second video to support the development of programming assignment number 9. When we left off in the last video, we had just created the get methods for each of the fields. Now we are going to create the set methods for each of the fields. So let's go back to our bank account class, and I have finished up the get methods, as you can see here. So we are going to write a set method. Let's write public. Set methods typically return nothing, so we have to say public void. And then let's say we want to set account number. We have to provide a parameter that's the same data type as the instance field we are trying to set. So account number I have declared as a string, and I am going to call that string parameter num. And then inside the method, we set the instance field, in this case account number, equal to the value of the parameter. So in this case, account number equals num. I encourage you to pause this video at this time and write the remaining set methods yourself. Now I'm going to continue with including a method named deduct monthly fee that reduces the balance by $5. So if we want to write a method called deduct monthly fee, we're going to start with public void deduct monthly fee. We don't need to send any parameters because the instructions tell us that all we want to do is subtract 5 from the balance. So balance minus equals 5. We'll subtract 5 from the balance, and that's all deduct monthly fee needs to do. The next thing our instructions tell us that we need to do are to include a static method named explain account policy that explains the $5 service fee that will be deducted each month. So explain account policy. So I want to make this method static as indicated in the instructions. A static method will exist even when no objects of the class exist. So I can be able to explain monthly fee regardless of whether or not I actually have any bank account objects. So the only thing that this guy is going to do is have a system.out.println every month a $5 fee will be deducted. Not very nice, but there it is. A static method that returns nothing. It's called explain monthly fee, and it just outputs the message every month a $5 fee will be deducted. So going back to our instructions, we are now ready to save this class as bankaccount.java. Because we named it bank account when we created it, all we have to do is just go over here and click on File, Save. Try to avoid using Save As. Save As typically winds us into trouble. The next thing the instructions say are to create a class called Test Bank Account. Whoops, I accidentally called mine Bank Account Test. 6 of one, half dozen of the other, so we'll just leave it alone and call it good. It's going to declare 4 bank account objects. So let's go into our main method in our bank account test class, and we want to create a bank account object. So to create a bank account object, you start with the name bank account, because bank account is essentially a new data type, and we're going to call this obj1 object 1 is what I'm calling it, equals new, and then we want to call bank account, and I've just wound myself up into trouble here, and I'll tell you why. Notice that this over here, sorry, let me explain this. Bank account is the object reference type. obj1 is the name of the object or the object reference. We're saying equals new. The keyword new does 3 things. It allocates memory for the object, it calls the constructor, and it returns the address of the memory that was allocated. So which constructor is it going to call? It's going to call the default constructor for bank account with 2 parentheses and nothing in the parentheses. Unfortunately, we don't have a default constructor for bank account. If we go over here to bank account, you'll see that I wrote it with 3 parameters. So I can write it with no parameters just by, I'm going to copy it and paste this in here and delete these parameters so that I can have a default constructor that will initialize the instance fields to default values. So a default value for a string data type is the empty string, and a default value for a numeric type would be 0. So I've just written what's known as an overloaded constructor, which you probably read about in chapter 8. It's when you have two constructors that have the same name but different argument lists. That's an overloaded constructor. So when we go back, whoops, wrong way. When we go back to bank account test, you will see that those red squigglies go away. Why don't you go ahead and hit pause on this video, and I'll resume with the next video. But in the meantime, write all of the declarations for the remaining 3 bank account objects, as well as making sure that you have the appropriate set method. So you should write 2 more set methods to match the instructions in the assignment. We will resume with the next portion, which is writing the getData method.